Hello, this is Unlimited Splash, where we get better at Magic together through a new draft video every weekday. And today is one of my absolute favorite things to do, seriously. It is draft review day. So in celebration of hitting 2,000 subscribers, I invited people to submit logs of drafts that they did that I would review for free on stream. I know that Secrets of Strixhaven is nearly done. And also, most of the people watching this are not the people who submitted. So in this video, I'm really going to try to lean towards more general lessons. Information that most of the people watching this could find useful in taking into the next set. All right, we also have 4 full draft submissions today and 1 particular gameplay question that someone sent in. So I'm going to aim for about 10 minutes per review. Probably it'll end up being more like 20. But the history of these things is I usually spend like 45 minutes on the first review and then have to rush through the others. I'm going to really try not to do that today. Okay, so actually the first draft comes to us from KahunaNui. And I just want to say 2 things about the orientation of these reviews and expectations for engagement. So first of all, the way that I think of these reviews is one peer talking to another peer. This is peer-to-peer feedback. I am not a professional player. I do not have all of the answers. I'm just someone who loves drafting and does it a lot and wants to get better right along with you. So take my engagement in that spirit. Comments, critiques, differences of opinion, everything is super, super welcome in the comments and in the Discord. But having said that, it is a pretty brave thing to do to offer your drafts to be reviewed on stream in front of potentially hundreds of people. And so the baseline expectation is that anyone who comments about these drafts in the comment section is respectful, okay? So before commenting about someone's draft, think to yourself how you would feel if someone said that about a draft that you did. All right, now let's go. And I have not looked at, I just saw the first pick, unfortunately, but I have not looked at how any of these decks turned out. These are my live reactions. So it should be independent from whatever the person who sent it in did. I did see that this person picked KahunaNui. I did see that you picked Emeritus of Truce, pack 1, pick 1. And I have absolutely no objection to that. I think that makes a lot of sense to me. The thing about the Emeritus of Truce, I was kind of surprised by its kind of lower game in hand win rate. You can see right there, it's like a 59%. Again, game in hand win rate, the probability that you go on to win the game after drawing this card into your hand at some point. It's extremely not the whole story of how good a card is, but it's a nice little indicator. And yeah, it's not that amazing for a mythic. One thing about this card, though, that I was thinking about is it doesn't have to be Swords to Plowshares. So when it enters, target player makes a 1/1. Then if an opponent controls more creatures than you, it becomes prepared. And then it gets Swords to Plowshares. I actually wonder if this card would have been better if it didn't have the Swords to Plowshares on average. This was something I was thinking about the other day, just like an idle thought. Do you think if this was just a 3/3 that makes a 1/1 flyer, that it would be better? Because I actually wonder if it asks you a question at the beginning. Do you want to make the 1/1 for yourself, or do you want to give it to your opponent and then have a removal spell? Kind of like a complicated decision. And I wonder if people on average are failing that test and giving away the creature when they shouldn't. Because we've seen with cards like Harsh Annotation that people are maybe a little bit too inclined to give away a 1/1 flyer in exchange for a removal spell. So yeah, I was actually thinking, would Emeritus of Truce have a higher win rate if it were literally just a 3/3 that makes a 1/1 flyer for 3? So anyways, having said that, I do think this card's maybe better than it looks. I mean, better than the data say, which is still probably worse than it looks. We see average last seen out of 1.8, which means people on average are picking it before pick 2. So it goes immediately, but it has a lower game in hand win rate than, I don't know what, 30 cards in the format or something. Okay, I said I was going to do 10 minutes per... I've already blown that out of the water. Okay, well, you know what? I do my best. Okay, but other candidate picks here. So Ral Zarek, I think you're right to ignore it. This one is way overdrafted. I don't super blame people for overdrafting mythics because, kind of want to play with it when you get the chance. So I can understand picking it when you open it, but it is it is much, much worse than the Emeritus of Truce and much worse than it looks. But other candidate picks for me would be Burst Lightning, for example. I think is probably, you could argue it's better than Emeritus of Truce because it is easier to cast. It's going to go in more decks. But probably the Emeritus of Truce is inherently a more powerful card since it's 2 creatures for the price of 1. I don't know. There's also Tome Blast, but I think I would take Burst Lightning over Tome Blast all day, every day, except maybe if I'm already in an extremely synergistic Lorehold deck. But I mean, Burst Lightning for me would be a very strong contender. And then there's Essence Scatter. which is again behind Burst Lightning. If it were me, I think I would take the Emeritus of Truce with Burst Lightning as the second option. And so you did exactly what I would have done. All right, pack 1, pick 2. Oh, my most hated card of the format. Oh my goodness, Harmonized Trio. Okay, but I do want to actually show you something. So why do I say I hate Harmonized Trio? Because Brainstorm just takes so long. It's like the old days with Sensei's Divining Top. It's just a complicated decision to decide which of the cards in your hand you want to put back. And it involves tapping a bunch of stuff, which means a bunch of clicking on Arena. The amount of clicking that goes into this card is unbelievable. So when this hits the table on the other side, if I can't kill it immediately, I'm like, oh no, did I budget enough time for this game? Or am I going to have to leave, like quit at some point because of the number of Harmonized Trio actions and like I have to catch a bus or something? However, I did get a new appreciation for it recently when someone in Washington, D.C. at the Limited Championship qualifier showed me some really cool tech. He had Harmonized Trio, and then he also had a Terramorphic Expanse, and he was using this as like a makeshift fetch land. So basically the idea is with Brainstorm, the way to make it way better is if you can get rid of the garbage in your hand that you're putting back. You put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library. If you pair that with Terramorphic Expanse, then you can crack the Expanse after putting the 2 cards back, and you can shuffle the stuff that you don't want back into your library. So you can actually, it's way closer to just Ancestral Recall. Like just draw 3 cards, put back 2 random lands in the late game that I have no use for, shuffle them in, and then I've literally just gotten away with drawing 3 cards. And so I actually had this Friday Night Magic deck where I took Harmonized Trio and I was like, how good can I make Harmonized Trio? Inspired by that guy in DC. So I got 2 Terramorphic Expanses, but I also got 3 pages. You could discard page and chew through a bunch of lands that you put on top. And so that's a way of getting rid of the cards on top. I had, what else? Let's see. Stock Up is kind of a way of doing that. Proctor's Gaze shuffles my library. Vastlane Scavenger mills cards. A Paradox Surveyor gets rid of a bunch off the top. Strixhaven Sky Coach shuffles. Is that it? Oh, Studious First Year also. So I had all of these different ways of shuffling my deck, and it made Harmonized Trio awesome. So yeah, all that to say, I'm higher on the trio than I was before. However, we just took a Emeritus. I mean, I don't want to think too much about my first pick. What's the best card in the pack? So I am higher on the Harmonized Trio. It's not going to go in the same deck as our pack 1, pick 1. But I'm not high enough on it that I'm super eager to pack 1, pick 2 it. Don't love Primary Research. The dual land is not really what I'm thinking about. Tester of the Tangential. Yeah, it's like kind of slim pickings, but we do have some good commons. I mean, I like Quick Study. I like Cost of Brilliance. I like Unsubtle Mockery. I like Potioner's Trove. I like Visionary Stance. Basically, every common is good. Every other card is bad. I would probably just take Potioner's Trove here, honestly. Now, I don't know how much a preference for taking Potioner's Trove here is just about my preferences at this point in the format. Probably. I'm really leaning towards playing like some kind of greedy, splashy control. So I don't know, maybe getting in the mindset of like, if there's a lot of money on the line, maybe like Unsubtle Mockery or Cost of Brilliance is good. It kind of leans towards the white-based aggressive decks with your Emeritus. So yeah, Cost of Brilliance, don't mind that at all. It's a pick towards the best deck in the format, I think, which is Silver Quill. All right, pack 1, pick 3. Oh yeah, okay, I mean, what's better than Echo Casting Symposium? Crackle with Power. I had to read this card like 3 times the first time I saw it, but yeah, XXX and 2 red for a sorcery deals 5 times X damage to each of up to X targets. So I mean, even if X is just equal to 1, then this is a 5 mana spell that deals 5 damage to something. So kind of Burst Lightning-ish. It can hit their face, by the way. But then for 8 mana, you can literally hit their face for 10. Or you can hit 2 different creatures for 10. Yeah, this card scales pretty nicely. I mean, you're probably not going to cast it for more than 8. But yeah, anyways, definitely taking Crackle with Power here. And you did. Awesome. So I would be very similar to you at this point. I might have a Potioner's Trove instead of the Cost of Brilliance, but Crackle with Power and Emeritus, I would have taken both of those. Okay, so it would be nice to play our Crackle, but here we see 0 red cards. I'm not in favor of doing something like taking the Shattered Acolyte just to kind of really force Lorehold. So I would say, it's between End of the Hunt, Cost of Brilliance, and Inkling Mascot, whatever you think is the best card there. I think End of the Hunt is the best, but also potentially the most replaceable. I mean, I'm sorry, the least replaceable. Like Cost of Brilliance, we already have one, and we're probably going to see more throughout this draft. And End of the Hunt is a highly picked uncommon, so I would be more inclined to take that here. And that's what you did. Very nice. Oh, wow, what a pack. Okay, this draft table is a bit chaotic. So you have Sundering Archaic as a fantastic converge payoff. You have a Johnny's Response as one of the best removal spells in the game, at least certainly at common. Rehearsed Debater is perfectly fine. Run Behind is really good removal. And then Forum of Amity is quite nice if we do end up in that white-black deck. Here, I think I would just be taking a Johnny's Response. I'm not inclined to be pulled in the direction of Converge by the Sundering Archaic. It's not like it's that much better than any of these other cards. So, yep, I would just take a Johnny's Response. Okay, so you did take the Sundering Archaic. The thing to me is, like, it's possible that Sundering Archaic is the best card in the pack. It is a removal spell, like a flexible removal spell if you have a good Converge setup. I've also actually found its second ability to be surprisingly important in this format. Decking does kind of come up a lot when you're in these, especially the soup versus soup mirror matches. But having said that, like, I mean, a Johnny's Response is going to go in any Lorehold deck that we make. It's also going to go in any Silvercold deck that we make. We're going to be really happy to see it. So yeah, I would be inclined to just go for a Johnny's Response here. Basically, like, the question is, I mean, we do have some investment now in, I mean, we're 4 picks in, so we don't want to be too married to our first 4 picks, but it's not like zero information about what other people are doing at the table. So while Sundering Archaic is a signal, and I guess actually we've seen 2 Potioner's Troves already, so maybe we're starting to get some kind of a converged signal, perhaps. We're also getting signals about white being pretty open. I'm not really sure what's going on. Maybe like green is the color that we've seen the least from so far. Maybe red also. We've not seen a lot of red other than Crackle with Power. Yeah, I don't know. I think I would just go for a Johnny's Response here. Okay, but then, you know what? You immediately get paid off for not doing what I would have done, because I think Proctor's Gaze is so good. Homesickness is also pretty nice. Stone Docent is really good, though, as well. So this is almost like the kind of a pack that I think of as a personality test. As someone who loves playing Quandrix, would love to play with this Crackle with Power, especially if I had taken this Sundering Archaic. Yeah, I would probably go for the Proctor's Gaze. I think that's a signal about Quandrix, especially paired with Quick Study, Tenured Concoctor, Homesickness. Well, not Tenured Concoctor, but Quick Study, Homesickness, Terramorphic Expanse, right? And all the Potioner's Troves that we've seen, and the Converge card that we just got sent. Yeah, maybe Converge is looking a little bit more open. So you could take Stone Docent if you kind of had a very strong preference to play one of the white aggressive decks. If we did that, maybe we would have taken a Johnny's Response last pick, and we would be looking pretty good now. Yeah, so this to me is like a little bit at odds with the Sundering Archaic pick. This pick, pack 1, pick 5, tells me that you think you're getting signals that Converge is open. Or that you think that Sundering Archaic is so much better than any of these other cards, but I don't think Sundering Archaic is like on another level from a Johnny's Response to where it super pulls us in that direction. So this tells me you think that signals are open towards Converge. But then if you think that signals are open towards Converge, wouldn't you be inclined to take Proctor's Gaze, Terramorphic Expanse, Homesickness, Quick Study, especially just Proctor's Gaze, as opposed to the Stone Docent? Or like Stone Docent, I don't think is clearly a better card than Proctor's Gaze. Or even Quick Study. Game in hand win rate apparently says they're like pretty comparable. And that's what my experience would say as well. These are pretty much like good, solid commons in their deck. So yeah, I don't really agree with, I would say either a Johnny's Response into Stone Docent is coherent, or Sundering Archaic into Proctor's Gaze is coherent. But taking the Sundering Archaic and then taking the Stone Docent, to me, I have trouble following the logic that pushes in that direction. All right, but now we actually, honestly, I would consider this a signal. Inkling Mascot. It's got to be the best card in the pack, I think, right? I mean, I don't know what people are thinking about Ascendant Dusk Speaker right now. I'm inclined to think Inkling Mascot is just better. 2 mana, it's in a slightly better deck, actually, as things are playing out. Or at least a deck that I'm slightly more inclined to be in. I will say the Lorehold land is a little confusing to me. I'm not sure what other people are doing. You could take the Lorehold land to hope to splash your Crackle with Power, but Crackle with Power is a tough splash because it's double red. I think I'm probably just going to take Inkling Mascot. With the setup that we have right now, yeah, we could end up in Silver Quill for sure. All right, and that's what you did. All right, and then there's a Melancholic Poet in here. If I were in a more Converge area, I would take maybe Noxious New, maybe Page. But yeah, Melancholic Poet, perfectly happy to see that one, and that's what you took. Very good. And then here I would just take Shattered Acolyte. So it is kind of boiling down to like Quandrixie Converge or Silver Quill. Those are kind of the two lanes available to us in this seat, I think. So yeah, I'd take the Shattered Acolyte, and you did. Very nice. Okay, but now we're kind of seeing, hey, maybe we leaned in. Well, actually, Dig Site Inventory is like not that different from Quick Study, right? So it's I guess more of the same story. I'd take Dig Site Inventory. You did. Then doesn't really matter what we do here. None of these are really our lane. You get a Page, you get a Shopkeeper's Bane, and you get a Mountain. That's a little annoying. The fact that it looked like Silver Quill or Quandrix was open, and then in the last few picks, well, I guess there's some bad green cards and some bad blue cards. Okay, so it's kind of consistent. Sure. All right, pack two, pick one. We have an Emeritus of Truce again. What else is in this pack? Emeritus of Abundance is a fantastic card, but very different from what we're doing. There is Killian's Confidence, Send in the Past, Dig Site Inventory. We've got some like pretty fine commons. Love Potioner's Trove, but it's not what we're doing. Yeah, I mean, I'm just taking Emeritus of Truce. Like, it's better than Dig Site Inventory. It's better than Killian's Confidence. There's nothing that makes me want to... There's nothing I want to take over that. And we've expressed a pretty clear preference at this point that we're leaning towards Silver Quill. So I think it would be a little bit jarring to suddenly bounce back and say, you know what, I guess I want to be Quandrix after all. I usually don't think too much about signals that I'm sending, but we've now sent some pretty clear pro Quandrix signals to the people to our left by passing, for example, Proctor's Gaze, pack 1, pick 7, that kind of a thing. Passing a few packs, which are mostly just like Izzet or Quandrix cards. Passing a Fractal Tender, pick 10. Passing a Quick Study, pick 11 for them, right? So I definitely think, yeah, I would do what you did, which is take the Emeritus. So my deck would look a whole lot like yours. I mean, I think I would have made the other decision. I think the major difference here is I would have made the other decision on Proctor's Gaze, and that would have pushed me towards Quandrix. That's the main difference here. So my deck would have started out pretty much the same. I actually probably would have taken the Ajani's Response here, but then when I got past Proctor's Gaze, that's when I would have hopped, not when I saw Sundering Archaic. And then I would be looking to make a Quandrixy, maybe Teamer deck. So here I probably would have taken, I don't know, I would have felt pretty sad because Inkling Mascot. I might actually have just taken Fields of Strife, honestly, at that point. Or maybe Inkling Mascot would have just pulled me back into Silver Quill. That's very possible. And then I would have been happy when I saw the Melancholic Poet. So actually, realistically, I think I would be in the same spot that you're in. If I'm being really honest with myself, I would have gone to Johnny's Response, Proctor's Gaze, Inkling Mascot, Melancholic Poet, Shattered Acolyte, and then I would have been back. And then I would have felt really sad to be passing a Quick Study. This is kind of torturous. I can see why you submitted this draft. This is really tough. I wonder if this Quick Study would have pulled me back towards Quandrix. I don't think so. By that point, it's too late. After you've added a Inkling Mascot and a Melancholic Poet, I think I would have just taken Dig Site Inventory. Yeah, okay. Whatever happened here was not your fault. So yeah, I would take Emeritus as well. That's what you did too. Okay. Then here, I'm not a big fan of Joined Researchers. I've for a while had this theory that it's perfectly fine because it's a 2/2 first strike for 2. But I don't know. I probably would just rather have Eager Glyph Mage here. And that's exactly what you took. All right. Yep. Well, Lecturing Scorn Mage is a very nice gift here. I assume that's what you were on. And now I assume we're not going to have very different. Oh, maybe there's more juice left to squeeze here. Let's see. Zealous Lorecaster. I was going to say maybe this is a pretty uneventful draft. Yeah, between Allen, Historian, and Masterful Flourish. Sure. Masterful Flourish. I tend to lean towards higher creature count. But you do have like, yeah, Lecturing Scorn Mage, Melancholic Poet, Inkling Mascot. You're starting to have the payoffs for targeting things. So yeah, Masterful Flourish is probably a card that you want a copy of. Now we're getting into Johnny's Response. Very, very happy to snap that one up. Okay, I know I'm trying to lean towards general lessons. I think you are specifically undervaluing a Johnny's Response. This is the second time you've passed it. Yes, having good mana is nice, but a Johnny's Response is a very, very, very good card. By the way, a Johnny's Response is an underdrafted card in my view. Like, check it out. A Johnny's Response has an average last seen at between pick 4 and pick 5. It has a game in hand win rate of 57.5%. I just randomly looked at the card next to it, Topiary Lecturer. Game in hand win rate 3 percentage points lower, and its average last seen at is the same. Like, people are picking it at the same spot, but it wins 3% fewer of the games where it gets drawn. So a Johnny's Response is underdrafted, and I think you are underdrafting it. So you're in good company, but I think you should draft it higher. What should we take from that as a general lesson? Because Secrets of Strixhaven individual card evaluations are no longer so useful. Well, this is a card that we've seen a lot. Luminous Rebuke is basically this card. There are a bunch of different versions of it, and it is chronically underdrafted. One of the most chronically underdrafted kinds of cards that gets printed pretty regularly. So many people should be picking this type of card higher. And this is one example. So in this spot, I would definitely take a Johnny's Response. And the next time we see this, 4 into white for an instant, destroy target creature that gets a discount of 3 if the thing is tapped or attacking, which we see like every other set, people should be more eager to pick this card up. Okay, enough said. All right, next up we have, I would just take Owlin Historian here. Yep, which is what you did. I would take Masterful Flourish, I guess. This is maybe why I would have leaned towards the Owlin Historian before. I think people tend to take this kind of card a little bit earlier than Masterful Flourish. Masterful Flourish is really replaceable. It has a super low average last seen at of 7. Owlin Historian average last seen at of 6. Okay, not that big a difference. But I would lean towards having more creatures and filling my deck up with ways of targeting things. Here, very happy to see Stone Docent. Impractical Joke and Rubble Rouser are super late, but this actually kind of makes sense because red was so cut coming from the right that whoever is immediately to the left of you also didn't see a lot of red. So it makes sense that they're not in red and now they're passing a lot of red. Seems like multiple people upstream of you are in red in my view. Dig Site Inventory is a nice find. Pull from the Grave, I guess, over Harsh Annotation. I would never run Harsh Annotation pretty much period in draft. All right, and then we have a few. Oh, we got a Sneering Shade Rider. That's kind of nice. All right, pack 3. I don't even know if it's Dissection Practice or Render Speechless at this point. Render Speechless is just so ridiculous. But yeah, I think probably Dissection Practice. Render Speechless is specifically great against the soup decks. Dissection Practice is just great in every spot. A Johnny's Response is nice as well. Quillblade Laureate is nice as well. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would tend to just take Dissection Practice over Quillblade Laureate. I think this card is so good. Okay, another Harmonized Trio. Let's see. Nothing really in this pack. Quite a disappointment. Wow, really a blank pack. I mean, I guess I take it the Dusk Speaker. Yeah, this is just bad luck, right? Take Harmonized Trio, sure. I mean, I guess I would be inclined to take something that I could play in my deck, but yeah, this is just bad luck. It's not a signal, I don't think. Okay, what are we looking at here? Sky Coach Conductor is getting passed to us. Yeah, taking Mage Tower Referee makes sense to me. It's a 2-drop that you can play. Yeah, this is looking disappointing. I can totally see why you sent in this one for review. A Braid, Additive Evolution. We have Sky Coach Conductor. We have Essence Scatter. We have Embrace of Paradox. We have a dual land, but nothing for Silver Quill. I think these two are bad luck. One person cannot take 3 good Silver Quill cards. 2 people cannot take 3 good Silver Quill cards. Like, the absence of Silver Quill from these packs is partly an anomaly, at least partly. And yeah, here we see it's not about getting cut by people who are in our lane because there's Killian Confidence and there's Last Gasp. I'm probably on Last Gasp. Yeah, I agree with that. Another Harmonized Trio. Wow. Wow, there's a Snarl Song in this pack. Oh, that's brutal. That's brutal. Yeah, and you're on Cheerful Osteomancer because what else can you do? Oh, this is a bloodbath. Oh, I'm sorry that this happened to you. But it's not about Silver Quill being completely cut. Because look at this. Also, it's not about Lorehold being completely cut, because here's Pursue the Past as well. Snarl Song into Pursue the Past, into a pack with Masterful Flourish and Melancholic Poet. And then we get Monstrous Rage, Visionary's Dance, yeah, a bunch of like Converge, Quandrixy stuff. Then we're picking Dissection Practice. We wheeled the Dissection Practice that I wanted to first pick Well, joke's on me, I guess. I would have wasted my first pick. I didn't expect Dissection Practice, the best card in the pack, to wheel. Okay, and then it's Dust Speaker, Searing Shade Rider. You get Interjection like almost last pick, which is kind of amazing. I honestly, I think the crucial moment here, the crucial moment happened at the end of pack 1. And it is this sequence here. You take Sundering Archaic, where you speculate on Converge over the Ajani's Response. I would have done the opposite. Then you take Stone Docent over Proctor's Gaze. I would have done the opposite. But I would have gotten corrected back into Silverquill by this Inkling Mascot into Melancholic Poet. 2 packs in a row, pick 7 and pick 8, the best card in the pack in my view, is a Silverquill card. So that's a signal. You were following a signal, and it was enough for both of us, even though we each would have speculated on a Converge card, to pull us back into Silverquill. That was correct and appropriate. Maybe at the end here, like I did for a second, think Quick Study is a signal. Quick Study plus Tester maybe is a signal. But Dig Site Inventory is also a signal. So, and none of these are signals. So I don't think you did anything wrong here. I also think I don't necessarily think that you got super cut out of Silverquill, because look, a Silverquill player would have taken Dissection Practice. I do not know why someone was passing you Additive Evolution, Sky Coach Conductor, Essence Scatter, Embrace of Paradox, and then into the ultimate insult, pack 3, pick 5 Snarl Song. Because then they're also passing Pursue the Past, and they're wheeling Dissection Practices, and they're passing Melancholic Poets, pick 7 almost on the wheel. So yeah, I think this was just chaos. I think you were drafting with some chaos agents, and then you also had really weird packs for the first few picks of pack 3. Like there's nothing Silverquill in this pack, and that's just random variants, and then this one again. So it feels like you're getting more cut than you actually are. Soup was definitely open, but I actually also think Silverquill was open. If we're wheeling Dissection Practice, I guess someone else at the table took Render Speechless. So that means there's maybe like one other Silverquill drafter in the pod, which is perfectly appropriate, I would say. You're getting Killian's Confidence, pick 4 alongside an Interjection and a Last Gasp, and we end up wheeling that Interjection alongside Chase Inspiration. So some people are drafting Lorehold, which makes sense because Lorehold seemed cut. Yeah, I don't think that there was much that you did wrong. I'm going to say your takeaway, 2 takeaways. I'm going to give you a specific takeaway and a general takeaway, although the general one's going to be a bit of a cop-out. Where's that Ajani's Response that you keep passing? Yeah, you should be higher on Ajani's Response and that kind of a card, KahunaNui. So that's my very specific piece of feedback. We're going to see this one again. I guarantee it will not be too many more sets before we see something like this. So that's one thing. The other thing, though, is I don't think you have a general problem with signal reading. Don't take out of this that you like completely failed to find your lane and someone else would have found it. I think you were in a very messy pod, and I actually think you just got unlucky with these first few picks of pack 3. It is true that Soup ended up being more open than Silverquill. But Silverquill was open enough to justify playing it. You were getting good Silverquill cards late pack 3, which is the definition of open. And when we really break down the information that you were getting in these packs, you were getting 2 signals. One signal is that Quandrixie Soup Converge was open. The other signal was that Silverquill was open. And you followed one of the signals. And you can't, I don't think, extrapolate from this amount of information to confidently say what's going to happen at the end of pack 3, especially when you seem to be drafting with some slightly chaotic people. So I think you should not take away from this that you have a general signal reading problem. You don't. The deck that I would have ended up with is very similar to the deck that you would have ended up with. And this is definitely a thing about drafting online. Like some pods. Okay, here's something else that you can do. I don't know how much you've drafted in paper, but so maybe you're already doing this. Go to Friday Night Magic and draft in pod with people, because the thing is, at a pod like this, everyone is going to get punished. There would be one person to your left who would be cackling, and just absolutely thrilled at the end of this draft because they were in Soup. Probably the person immediately to your left, and they get a Snarl Song, pack 3, pick 6, and then they probably end up 3-0ing the draft. So like one person would be rewarded here, but everybody else would be suffering the same way that you are. Like the people who are passing, it doesn't feel good. Whoever sent this Pursue the Past around pack 3, pick 5, right? There's like, it's crystal clear that something messy overall is happening in this pod. And sometimes that happens in pods. Like that's absolutely, I have like 03 drafts where I feel like I'm just in a pod where I can't win. You know, I just get shipped like totally incoherent stuff. I make the best of it, and then I end up with a deck that I'm not happy with, and then I lose. I think 2-3 is a nice outcome for this in the ranked queues online. But in pod, maybe you could get a solid 2-1 result with this because almost everyone else's deck is also a mess. So sometimes this just happens. Like not every pod is a learning experience in terms of like, oh, I could have. Not every pod gives you the chance to craft a magnificent deck. If two people to your right send totally incorrect signals, they just like totally flip to a different deck pack 2, you are going to get cooked. And there's nothing you can control about that. You can try to minimize the number of times in your life that happens to you by making sure that you're predicting as accurately as possible. But sometimes you're just going to get a deck where 2-3 is a respectable result because that's the best of the pod afforded for you. So if you draft more in paper, then at least everyone else is reaping what they sow in the draft portion right along with you. Okay, but I know that's easier said than done. One other thing that occurs to me is if you were feeling bad after this draft, I don't know if you jammed these games right after the draft. The timestamps on these, this looks really, really fast. It looks like you were just going. If you were feeling bad and if maybe you started to get into a bit of a tilt mindset, it would be worth just stepping up and walking away from the computer in between. Like maybe you get your first win, you're feeling pretty good. Something I try to do is at a moment when I have some kind of like I salvage something, I got my first win or something with a deck that I thought was not good. I walk away and I enjoy that moment. I just like go make toast or something and then come back. I don't know if that would be useful for you, but something to think about. Okay. And also maybe you didn't start feeling bad until after these losses anyways, but just something to consider. Okay, I spent way too long. I spent way longer than I said I would. I'm actually going to put up a timer. All right, I can't help myself. I just love to talk about drafts so much. So here's a timer on the board, 15 minutes. This one comes to us from Rossetto or Rossetto, I think you speak Portuguese. And let's get talking about it. Okay, 15. All right, so pack 1, pick 1. We have some options. Okay, this timer is giving me grief, but I think it's working now. Okay, so pack 1, pick 1. Wow, what a juicy pack. I mean, Dismember is fantastic. The thing about Dismember, I mean, it's especially good in Cube, where, you know, dealing with early threats is really important. But even in Secrets of Strixhaven, I haven't got to play with it, but it seems to have played out great. The fact that you can just kill basically anything for 1 mana is just really, really, really strong. Traumatic Critique is another fantastic card. This is one of my favorite cards to play with. Honestly, I'd probably be on Traumatic Critique. If we're drafting for a lot of money, maybe Dismember is better because it's a way, way, way more flexible. Pack 1, pick 1. It's effectively colorless instead of being a commitment to 2 different colors. Having said that, I love Traumatic Critique. I mean, this is just one of my favorite cards to play with in the set. Then there's also Matterbending Mage, which is one of the top uncommons on the format. Mana War variant. When it enters, bounce a creature. Just phenomenal. What else would I be thinking about? I mean, that's kind of it, but I would be on Traumatic Critique. I would never fault anyone for taking Dismember here. It's probably actually better. If we're drafting for a lot of money, my deep heart of hearts says I should just be taking Dismember. I don't agree with taking Pursue the Past here. I think it's too much of a kind of like, yes, Pursue the Past is an amazing card, but it's sort of glue that holds together an archetype, card advantage, and a little bit of life gain, and a little bit of synergy. It's a really strong common, but Traumatic Critique is an entire win condition, and Dismember is like, this has to be the best removal in the format, unless you count like Moment of Reckoning or something. So I as much as we talk about how great Pursue the Past is, I would not put it on the same level as either of these 2 cards. Okay, whoops, didn't mean to reveal your pick. Here, yeah, Emeritus of Conflict is super fun. It does take a lot of commitment to turn it on, but it is a super fun card. Johnny's Response, Colossus. I think Colossus of the Blood Age is probably the best card in the pack, honestly. Pursue the Past is also, you know, strong. Personally, I would be taking Colossus of the Blood Age. If I had taken Traumatic Critique pack 1, pick 1, I would still be taking Colossus of the Blood Age. This is just a good reason to be Lorehold. This card is just so bonkers. I mean, Lightning Helixes them, and then it replaces itself and then some when it dies. And it's a 6/6 on top of all of that. This is just a nutty card. So I would probably be on Colossus of the Blood Age here. I would take that over Emeritus of Conflict, just in terms of individual card strength. Here, especially if I had taken the Traumatic Critique, I would be very happy to see Great Hall. Even with the cards that you took, Pursue the Past and Emeritus of Conflict. Oh, let's see. I mean, there's Great Hall is a really strong option. What's the next best pick? Maybe the Honormancer. I really like that one. I really like Essence Scatter. I'm a huge Essence Scatter believer. Run Behind as well is a good one. I wouldn't hate someone taking Honormancer in this spot, but I think I'm just on Great Hall. I think this card's really, really good. It's such good fixing. Essence Scatter. Interesting. What is the thinking behind Essence Scatter? I guess you don't have another Lorehold card that you can go with. And then the other options are blue or white black. I don't know. I would just be on Great Hall. So this is like kind of a funny situation where I almost feel like you are... Okay, so most players would overvalue rares. In 2 out of the 3 packs, you've leaned towards commons over very strong rares. So I like that. I like that you're swimming against the tide here. It's interesting. But I do wonder if you've kind of developed the opposite issue where you're kind of leaning too far away from really strong bombs. Like pack 1, pick 1, pack 1, pick 2, pack 1, pick 3. I want to be taking powerful cards. The average last CNAT of Pursue the Past is between pack 5 and pick 6. Between pick 5 and pick 6. The average last CNAT of Essence Scatter is between pack 4 and pick 5. So if you're investing your pick 2 and your pick 3 in those cards, which on average will go 2 to 3 picks later, and sometimes are going to go 6 or 7 picks later, then you are probably over investing in those and under investing in whatever you won't see that late. Great Hall's average last CNAT is between 3 and 4. Stirring Honormancer between 4 and 5, so that one's similar. Dismember's average last CNAT and Traumatic Critique's average last CNAT are both around pick 2. So you're not going to see these pick 7. You might actually see a Pursue the Past, or especially an Essence Scatter, pick 7. That would only be 2 packs later than usual. So I think you actually, from this so far, I think you should actually lean back in the direction of rare drafting a little bit more. like accept the power. It's not even about rare drafting. That's kind of a glib way of saying it. But like lean into the power of these cards that you only get to see early in the pack. Okay, best card in this pack probably is Quandrix Charm, but we're pretty far away from wanting to do that. Well, actually, no, you just took an Essence Scatter. So yeah, I guess let's just go for the Quandrix Charm here. I do think that's the best card in the pack. I mean, Sleight of Hand is kind of nice to have for smoothing stuff out. Dig Side Inventory is nice for any old generic Silver Quill deck. That's kind of it. I mean, I always like a Terramorphic Expanse in basically any deck, but yeah, Quandrix Charm is the most powerful card. Yeah, I think you love commons. It's so funny because it's really funny to me because I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing like I'm like laughing in supportive appreciation of how like kind of cool a problem this is to have, because usually you see people taking rares, mythics, especially uncommons, like way higher than they should. You are clearly like in a very thoughtful and deliberate way steering in the opposite direction and being like, I want a strong, consistent deck built out of pieces that I can count on and like I know and understand. And I super respect that. But I do think you're taking it farther than is probably healthy for your win rate. Like you could have had a lot of power here. My deck so far would be Traumatic Critique into Colossus of the Blood Age, into Great Hall of the Biblioplex, into Quandrix Charm. The first 3 of those especially, I'm going to be thrilled when I draw them. Especially Traumatic Critique, Colossus, and then Great Hall's on a similar level, and then Quandrix Charm maybe a little below that. But every one of those cards, when I see it, I'm going to be like, yeah, I got like an awesome card into my hand, right? Dig Side Inventory does not give me that same kind of feeling. So I feel like you've passed on kind of more value and more power than I would recommend. Whoops, I didn't mean to show the pick. You took Molten Note, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Hey, maybe you're getting super rewarded for this experimentation in Lorehold. Because here's Molten Note, here's Pursue the Past. There are some good pieces for soupier decks, so or more Prismari decks like Potioner's Trove, Brush Off. But Molten Note is the best card in the pack. I'm very happy to see that and very happy to take it. Here, the best cards are probably Dissection Practice, Unsubtle Mockery, and maybe Monstrous Rage is pretty good. That's probably the list. I would definitely just take Unsubtle Mockery, given what you have so far. Sure, makes sense. Wilt in the Heat is fine, I guess. My favorite card here is Brush Off, and you do have this random Essence Scatter, not randomly chosen, but like kind of sticking out from the rest of your deck. So you might not want to invest in that direction more. I think maybe just taking Wilt in the Heat makes sense. Yeah, makes sense to me. Good pick. Okay, now we are definitely seeing some Silverquill signals, but I don't think you need to follow those super diligently because we also saw a bunch of Lorehold signals pretty recently, like the Unsubtle Mockery and the Monstrous Rage, and Silverquill signals overlap with Lorehold signals. If Silverquill is super open, then Lorehold is going to be reasonably open because it means you're going to see some white. So here I could take Eager Glyph Mage, I think, but the most powerful card in the pack and the thing that really sticks out is Stirring Honormancer, but we really do not have we're not drafting a version of Lorehold so far where it's very easy to pivot into Silverquill, right? Because we have so many red cards or red-white specifically cards. We only have one card that could go in a Silverquill deck. So I think we just have to let this one pass us by. I would take the Eager Glyph Mage. Aziza is not that good, but I guess it's fine. I mean, it's a hard to cast 2/2 for 2 with an ability that kind of rarely gets activated. Honestly, this is funny. This is the first time when you are taking a rare and I would want you to be taking a common. So I wonder what that tells us. Because I would tend to think Eager Glyph Mage is better than Aziza. So yeah, I don't know. It's something about like, maybe something about which rares are good or which rares to go for. Maybe we have a difference of opinion on that. Okay, yeah, I'll just take Wilt in the Heat, I guess. Tackle Artist is probably comparable. Johnny's response is so late here. What was I just saying to KahunaNui about how nobody respects a Johnny's response and people should be drafting it higher? 10th pick, a Johnny's response is a joke. This card should be going like pick 3, pick 4. I mean, this is just like kind of extreme. So you get super rewarded there. Stirring Honormancer. Oh, the disrespect. The Rhino Bard is awesome. This card basically at a minimum, I know there's like an edge case blowout, but basically at a minimum, this card is a 4/5 for 5 draw card when it enters, which is already solid, but then usually it's so much better than that. So yeah, we can take it. We're not going to end up Silverquill. We would have to throw out a lot of picks, but I think there is value to cutting Silverquill away from the person to your left. You don't really want to be passing them a pick 12 Honormancer and having them take all your white cards. Okay, and then let's see, Ancestral Anger, Rapier Wit. I guess the edge case would be if they're also in Lorehold. If there's any chance that they're deciding between Lorehold and Silverquill, you could pass this to them to try to knock them towards Silverquill and away from Lorehold. It's just some edge case worth thinking about. Here I would take Ancestral Anger, and then you get a Rapier Wit. So not nothing. Last pick. Okay, this would go nicely with my Traumatic Critique. But yeah, not something that you're going to play in your deck. Probably I'm just taking Pursue the Past at this point. It's a little bit disappointing to me, but yeah, probably just snapping up that Pursue the Past. I do think Pursue the Past is better than Kirill, but maybe that's just a me thing. What does the win rate say? 59.6% versus 64% win rate. Yeah, I think there's something here about card evaluation. Maybe spending a little bit more time with like, I won't even make this about me, watching like Paul Cheon draft or looking at the win rate data and just being a little bit, I'm not saying you have to like get super obsessed with win rate data, and it's definitely not the full story, obviously, but I do notice I seem to have really different card evaluation from you. So something about maybe familiarizing yourself a little bit more with like the community consensus on some of these cards. I think most people would think Pursue the Past is a lot better than Kirill. And I think especially like Pack 1, Pick 1, most people would probably say both of these rares are way stronger than Pursue the Past. Great Hall is stronger than Essence Scatter. Even as an Essence Scatter lover, I say that. Quandrix Charm being really strong. So I think there's something to that. Maybe like a little bit more of like watching a really good player like Paul Cheon and just like internalizing the decisions that he makes. A trick that I often recommend is watching people draft, and before they make their pick, you pause the video and you think in your head about what pick you would make in that spot. And then you compare it to whatever the person does. That's a really good way to learn and check yourself against what strong players are doing. I don't necessarily recommend doing this with my videos because I'm kind of a crazy person. I sometimes make picks that probably nobody else would make in that spot. Someone like Cheon, he's really every single time just drafting the most responsible deck he possibly can. So I think this is a really good exercise to do with him. Okay. And I'm saying this to you, Rossetto, because I think that in some cases you're passing really strong cards and taking worse cards, in my view. And so that's kind of the reasoning behind why I think kind of spending more time with other people's card evaluation might kind of get you better results. Okay, next up we have I accidentally revealed your pick here, but I would be exactly on the same thing on Elite Interceptor. 100% agree. Great. That's a great card evaluation. Oh, very nice. Someone passes us pack 2, pick 3, Arc of Hunger, one of the top rares in the format. A wonderful reward for our reading of the signals. That's one thing you're doing amazingly, Rossetto, is reading signals. I think you're in exactly the right spot, and we just found amazing evidence of it. Arc of Hunger, pack 2, pick 3. You snap it up, and it's going to go great in your deck. So that's fantastic. And then into Informed Inkwrite, another one of the best cards in the format, and it is in your archetype. This is awesome. This is a wonderful demonstration of signal reading. Well, signal sending, I guess, right? Because this is pack 2. So these are the people who received your signals. So this is actually you sending such consistent signals. Maybe you're really onto something here. Cutting that Pursue the Past, pack 1, pick 1. Taking that Molten Note, taking Aziza, taking Kirill, not giving any hint. Well, Kirill was this pack, but not giving any hint that someone should be in Lorehold. You did pass one Wilt in the Heat at one point, I guess. So it could have passed a Tackle Artist. But still, you were very disciplined about making sure that Lorehold was not passing through your fingers. And here, there you go. This really seems to have paid off for you because, okay, this is more of a Silver Quill card, but it's going to go great in your Lorehold deck. Stand Up For Yourself is a fantastic removal spell, but I don't think we would take it over Informed Inkwrite. Johnny's Response is really nice for our deck. We could play Expressive Fire Dancer or Heated Argument in a pinch, but definitely we're just snapping up the Informed Inkwrite here, right? Okay, there you go. I was a little scared because of the early rares that you passed, that you would be passing some of these bombs, but no, you are right on the money with Arc of Hunger into Informed Inkwrite. Okay, here I would just take Stone Docent. I mean, now I'm like so entrenched in Lorehold. All right, we didn't quite make our time here. We can put a little more on the clock. Give us another 5 minutes to talk about. It's an interesting draft. You give us something that's so interesting to think about. Okay. So yeah, I'm on Stone Docent just like you. Here, Quillblade Laureate is a very nice reward. Oh, I would be on Quillblade Laureate over Ascendant Dustspeaker. Quillblade Laureate, Double Strike is just so good. And the fact, so for one thing, like Twofold Intent goes nicely with like Informed Inkwrite. You do actually have a payoff for targeting a creature. So that's like one thing to think about. I guess also Tackle Artist, but especially the Informed Inkwrite. You're a little low on, I mean, you can never have too many 2-drops. Quillblade Laureate also helps you triple spell with Emeritus. It just goes better with your other cards, but then also in a vacuum, this is just a better card. This is another card evaluation thing. Quillblade Laureate is just better than Ascendant Dustspeaker. Okay, and 2-drops in general are way better than 5-drops. So even if this were day one of the format, now we know a whole lot more, but even just from like first principles, I would be really inclined to take, even if I thought they were comparable power level inherently, I would be really inclined to take the cheaper card. Okay, here I would just take Owlin Historian. We have a kind of a gap in our curve at the 3-drop slot. So I think that's a nice one to pick up. Yeah, okay, so maybe you're doing this on purpose because you want synergy. That occurs to me. But how many payoffs do we even really have for leaving the graveyard? I think it's a big concession to make in terms of your curve and just individual card power to take the Dust Speaker for synergy. I actually think Quillblade Laureate is highly synergistic with your plan. As I said, like Informed Inquiry, Emeritus of Conflict, it just goes well with other cards that you have. Tackle Artist. Ascendant Dust Speaker, yes, it's a synergy enabler, but it's not like we have 3 Garrison Excavators that are going to need things to be leaving the graveyard. Arc of Hunger is a machine of its own. It doesn't need other things to leave the graveyard. So far, we have no other payoffs for that I see at all. So I don't think you should feel obligated to take the Dust Speakers just because that's what Lorehold nominally wants to be doing. I think you should feel liberated to just take the better card. And Owlin Historian, I don't know if it's a better card in a vacuum necessarily, maybe kind of on the same kind of plane. Both cards I'm not super happy to be playing, honestly, but you have a huge hole in your curve. I would really bias towards curve in this spot. You want to be a faster style, especially with this Kirill, with Aziza, all these 2-drops. You want to be a faster style of Lorehold, I think. And so you're not like a highly controlling synergy oriented one. So I would definitely be in favor of Owlin Historian here. Okay, continuing to get rewarded. I mean, I wouldn't hate the Sundown Pass because we have all these gold cards just to make sure our mana is going to work. But probably Stone Docent is good enough that I'm just taking it over the pass, honestly. I don't know. This is a your mileage may vary situation where I could imagine some amazing pros taking the Sundown Pass just to make their mana better. I feel like the better someone is at Magic, the more they care about their mana. And so I'm always trying to tell myself, I should probably just be taking at least one dual land in the course of every draft if I have the opportunity. So maybe this is a moment to take it. But instinctually, my first thought was to take the Stone Docent. Okay, Sundown Pass. Awesome. That's great. And now we get rewarded with another Stone Docent. The disrespect to Stirring Honormancer this draft is just so sad. But okay, snap up that Stone Docent. Then wow, there's a Scolding Administrator. It does feel sad how underdrafted Silverquill is, but sometimes there are multiple correct lanes, and this is one of those spots. Stand up for yourself. Pack 2, pick 12. Are you kidding me? That is a joke. Okay, wow. I mean, this card is it is basically just 3 mana, destroy target creature. Rarely do you not get to hit whatever you want with that. Same thing with Repel Calamity. Even better because it's 2 mana. I would take it over Molten Note here. Because, again, we don't have those billion, leave the graveyard triggers that motivate going with the synergy-oriented pick, so I'm on Repel Calamity. Is Molten Note better than Repel Calamity? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. I'm not going to argue hard about that, though. And then here's an Informed Inkwright. That's just awesome. One of the best cards in the format. Your deck is getting stacked. I'm sad to see that this got submitted for review because it probably means that it didn't turn out well. Okay, Library of Alexandria, Goblin Glassrite. I don't know. Could I take Library here? I don't know if this is going to be a Library deck. I want to. Then we get a Johnny's Response. We're not going to have that many differences of opinion here. Probably Tome Blaster, Johnny's Response. I wouldn't hate Fields of Strife, but since you invested in the Sundown Pass, let's say Tome Blast, probably. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Whoa. Okay, we're over time. So I'll just go quickly through these. I would take Quillblade Laureate over the Embermare. I think you're under-evaluating Quillblade Laureate. Probably by a lot, actually. Also, 2-drops. You have a lot of 2-drops, but that doesn't mean you can't have more. I think Quillblade Laureate is just worth it. What do we have here? I'm taking another Stone Docent. Page Loose Leaf. That's very surprising to me. Why not Stone Docent? 3 power for 2 mana is awesome. If you can just play a Stone Docent every single turn, are you trying to find... You're using this to try to find removal or something? It's not like it's not like you need a ramp piece. Yeah, I'm very surprised by that. Why not Stone Docent? Here I'd probably just take a Johnny's Response over Kirill, especially with the double Informed Inkwright. Here I would... Wow. Oh my goodness. Stand up for yourself or Pursue the Past. Yeah, I'm not sure what your deck needs more. I think Pursue the Past is probably a good one, given that you now have a lot of removal. Do you, or did you pass a lot of that removal? No, you kind of have a lot of removal. Sure. But great signal reading. Great signal reading. And then Repel Calamity. I would definitely be on Repel Calamity here over Dig Site Inventory. I cannot believe we wield the Repel Calamity. I mean, that is just more than you can hope for. Okay, deck is looking awesome, but I am going to say, I noticed 2 things. Actually, let me quickly look through and see how this landed in my lap. Why? Oh, it was a best of 3 situation. What happened here? Rossetto, what happened here? What happened here? This is a best of 3 match. I see 1 game. My friend, I need to call you in on this one. Why is there only 1 game here? Was this a bad beat? You got to a point where it was just feeling too bad and you didn't want to keep playing? Your hand is full of action. They just beat you down, it looks like. They just curved out and beat you down. Interesting. You have a molten note, but oh, you got stuck on lands is what happened. I see why your hand is so full on gas. Okay, all right. Okay, so there are 3 things to say about this. First of all, you did a phenomenal job of reading signals. You cut and sending signals. You cut Lorehold really effectively, which massively paid you off. You got an Arc of Hunger later than you might have otherwise. You got double Informed Inkrite, so your deck had a lot of power in it. So that's number 1. Awesome job reading signals. Number 2, I do think our card evaluations are misaligned. I'm not saying I'm always right and you're always wrong. I think it's kind of awesome when people have a very different card evaluation. It's really healthy for the community for people to have different opinions. But I think you took a worse card more times than you needed to. So I think doing something like that thing I suggested with just watching Chion's videos and comparing your picks to his, or looking a little bit longer at the data on like card win rates. Not that you have to get obsessed with those, but just like any way of aligning yourself a little bit more with consensus on card value, on how good specific cards are, that might just be a good investment. Having said that, you did get a lot of power into your deck. It's not like this went 1-2 because you didn't get good cards, right? It's not like it was an underpowered deck that therefore went 1-2. The other thing to say though is what this log looks like to me, and maybe I'm misunderstanding something, but just from reading, maybe 17 Lands is having a glitch. So just, you know, with some uncertainty attached. It looks to me like you played a game where you got mana screwed. You felt bad about getting mana screwed, which is understandable. that makes sense. But then you didn't play out the rest of the best of 3. You conceded the entire match. And then here's what you did. I'm calling you in. Then you immediately requeued into your next game and suffered 2 losses and 6 turns. Is this another mana screw situation? No, it's not a mana screw situation. You just got completely overrun. So I can't see clear evidence that it like affected you mentally in the next game. But I do think, you know, if you're in a headspace where you feel like you got a great deck, this is just reading into things. I could be wrong, but it probably felt like you had a great deck. You had all these bombs, all this power, and a good responsible curve and a lot of creatures. And then you just got terrible luck and lost and quit the match. First of all, that concede button, conceding the match, it's not worth it. You're just throwing away gems. Play the next game. Play the next game. Play out the games that you're entitled to. And second of all, if you are in such a feels bad that you concede the match, don't immediately requeue for the next one. Go take a break. It's at least in my time, this was past midnight. Just go take a rest, do something else, do something fun, refresh your mind, and then come back to it when you're in a better headspace. Again, this is all reading into it from the logs. Maybe none of that happened and your game just glitched out and you had an awesome match too and you were feeling super energized and having a ton of fun. Okay, but if what I'm reading here is what happened, that you conceded your match and then immediately jumped into another one and lost that other match too, I would say just ask yourself what choices can you make in the meanwhile to interrupt that kind of thought pattern, to notice that tilt like that is developing and to just step away from it. Okay, so those are my 3 pieces of feedback for you. Awesome curve reading, maybe practice card evaluation, bringing your card evaluation closer to community consensus with the humility that in some cases, maybe you're right and I'm wrong. And number 3, if you did tilt out, quit the match and immediately requeue, try to figure out what you can do to avoid that sort of thing in the future. But thank you so much for submitting, Rossetto. And if you don't actually speak Portuguese and I'm pronouncing your name in a Portuguese way for no reason, apologies. But really appreciate you sending in that draft log. All right, number 3 out of 4. This one comes to us from Dion. Dion, by the way, definitely one of the top bombs in any recent limited format. So a very good card to name yourself after. Or maybe Maybe you're not named after it, but maybe it's just a coincidence. Okay. All right. So 15 minutes on the clock. Let's get into it. All right. So what would I take out of this pack? Tough pack. Dang. Okay. I mean, I don't. So I mean, I like Killian's Confidence. I like. I don't actually know if I like Spell Pierce in draft. I have way more. My card evaluations are way more tuned to sealed because I was playing a lot more of that towards the end of Secrets of Strixhaven. But Spell Pierce probably not main deckable in Premier Draft right now. Killian's Confidence. I'm not looking to jump into the gold color pair just for that right off the bat. Same thing with Fractal Tender, especially. Living History, one of the worst lore hold cards. Fix What's Broken. On Lords of Limited, Ethan made the point that they may actually have just miswritten this card, that it really looks like it should be mana value X or less. And it hadn't occurred to me that it was actually just like miswritten. I'm not sure, but it completely unplayable. Okay. So what are we looking at here? I mean, I would probably be between, I would just be on Potioner's Trove. Probably. That's a personal preference thing. But I would be not too devastated to pack one, pick one, a Potioner's Trove at this point in the format. Other good cards, there's Cost of Brilliance, there's Run Behind. Those are kind of the three. I'm probably on Potioner's Trove. You took Cost of Brilliance. I don't hate that at all. Kind of a personal preference matter, I guess. Okay. Pack one, pick two. A bunch of good options. This is kind of the opposite of the last pack, which had not that much going on. This one has a lot of good stuff. Love, Repel Calamity, Brush Off can be good. Foolish Fate is really fantastic. Paradox Surveyor is really great. Elite Interceptor, maybe the best common in the format. Inkling Mascot, fantastic. Cost of Brilliance, really good. And Piercing Ink Mage is perfectly fine. Basically, every card in here is pickable, other than maybe like 3 or 4. So here I probably just take Repel Calamity. I think this is a really superb removal spell. I would not really fault anyone for taking Foolish Fate or Elite Interceptor. If I had taken the Potioner's Trove, I'd probably still be on Repel Calamity, but Paradox Surveyor is not that bad a pick here either at all. But probably just Repel Calamity. I think that card's really superb. Elite Interceptor, I don't have any problem with. So I think we've had 2 minor differences of opinion, but I don't. I think they're like almost personality test style questions. Like those are similarly good picks. Okay, what do we have here? Every uncommon is terrible. Let's see. Stone Docent is kind of nice. Just 3 power for 2 mana is just a good deal in this format. There's also another Cost of Brilliance. Do we just double up on Cost of Brilliance here? Could be that we just double up on Cost of Brilliance here. In Michigan Chess Sling, when you put 2 rooks on the same column, it's called you call it double up on the bubble up. So we could double up on the bubble up with Cost of Brilliance, or we could take Stone Docent. I like taking Spirit Mascot less. I just don't think this is a good enough card to take over Stone Docent or Cost of Brilliance. People seem kind of low on Stone Docent. Maybe I'm like a little higher on that one than I should be. I don't know. 3 mana or 3 power for 2 mana, and it has these like synergies with Lorehold. I just think it's good. Spirit Mascot I'm not so high on. It's a little hard to play for a 2-drop. Like, think about this. Its win rate here, we can see, is 55%. That's like very average, like the most average card, basically, for 17 lanes users who tend to have about a 55% win rate. And so this card is like you're not more likely to win after drawing this card than like any generic card in the set, basically. And so what that means, or it's like an average, you go on to win an average amount of time after drawing this card, but it's in one of the more winning archetypes. So I tend to think this is actually dragging you down when you play this card. And I think it kind of makes sense because one rule of thumb that I come back to a lot in Limited is in Contemporary Limited, if you have to work to make a card have an appropriate stat line, like it starts out as a 2/2 for 3 and you have to work to make it a 3/3 for 3, that's typically very bad. Very, very bad. Spirit Mascot isn't quite like that. It's a 2/2 for 2, but it's a 2/2 for 2 different colors of mana, which actually is hard to play. Some amount of the time, and it's not 0, you are going to not be able to play this card on turn 2. And so that does mean sometimes it'll lead to inefficiencies where you play it on 3 and you're wasting a mana on turn 3. And in those cases, it is understated. So some percent of the time, Spirit Mascot is one of these understated cards for its cost that you're going to have to work to bring to an appropriate stat line. And so I do think Spirit Mascot's kind of in that category because it has the 2 different mana costs so early in the curve when you might not have your feet under you mana-wise and have drawn both of your colors. So for that reason, I actually do like Stone Docent more. Also, Stone Docent is is an enabler for the synergy, Leave the Graveyard synergy. Spirit Mascot is a payoff. Usually, as a basic rule of thumb, I like to take my payoffs after I already have some enablers, because the payoffs are usually much worse if you can't do the payoff thing. The enablers are only a little worse if you don't care about the thing that they enable. Okay, and then I would also take Cost of Brilliance sooner than Spirit Mascot. This is just a great card, and you already have one. So I don't know, it's kind of like expressing a preference, you know, starting to cut Silverquill a little bit maybe, but I just think it's a better card, and that's the reason that I would actually take it. So all of that said, we've now had 3 differences of opinion. The first 2 are not very important at all. I wouldn't like go to the mat for my choices. On this one, I do think you're accepting some concession to express a preference to be Lorehold when you already have a card that wouldn't fit in that deck. So I would just tend to go for either Stone Docent or Cost of Brilliance. Okay, enough said. On to the next one. What's the best card here? I mean, it could be Sundering Archaic. It also could just be Render Speechless, honestly. I've been so impressed by this card. And by impressed, I mean devastated by how effectively it shuts me down. I would probably just take the Render Speechless here. I mean, I, being me, would probably be greedy and just go for Sundering Archaic and say, well, you know, I tried to draft white aggro, but hey, look, the packs are giving me Converge. There was one Converge card, pick 4. But actually, seriously, like with a lot of money on the line or whatever, yeah, I'd probably be on Render Speechless here. What I would not take is Wander Off or Rehearsed Debater over Render Speechless or Aziza. I think those are 3 things to avoid doing. So let's see what you did. Sundering Archaic. Yeah, I mean, that's what I would do probably. Fun equity, right? I mean, it's not like it's arguably the best card in the pack right alongside Render Speechless. It's just very different from what you're doing so far, which is fine. Most people would tend to over-index on the importance of their first 3 picks, so I really appreciate that you're willing to explore and follow signals. But also, this is only the first barest hint of a signal, so we'll see where things go from here. And this is a strong signal. Pack 1, pick 5, Elite Interceptor. I'm all over it, and I don't think anything else is close. And you agree, so that's awesome. Pack 1, pick 6. Okay, things are getting interesting because it looks like maybe Silverquill has no options in this pack. There's a Fields of Strife for Lorehold, but the best card in the pack, and the card that I would take here, I think, maybe you just take Fields of Strife, but I kind of feel like that's starting to maybe over-index on what you've already taken. The card I would take is probably Essence Scatter. I guess, though, Fields of Strife could go in the same deck as Sundering Archaic, but is Sundering Archaic going to go in the same deck as the Elite Interceptors is the question. I think I would just take Essence Scatter. I think when you hit a pack like this, and pack 1, pick 6, pick 5, pick 6, pick 7, this is right around when it starts to happen. When enough people have seen the pack, like a big chunk of the other people that you're drafting with have now seen this pack, you are really starting to get information about what other people are doing. Pack 1, pick 6 is sometimes the first wall that I hit in a draft where it's like, oh, I've been doing something that is not going to fly at this table. Because like those 2 people across from me or whatever are clearly in white-based aggro, and all of my picks so far have been white aggro. And if I want it, I'm going to be in a fight in this draft. So I could try to fight through that. But in my view, now that you've just got this big pack of information about what everyone else is doing, I think this is the moment for a pivot. Around pack 1, pick 6, pick 7, pick 5, that is when I am most willing to pivot in the draft, because that's when I have just gotten some information from basically everybody. So that's like the premium moment for a pivot, in my view. I should probably make a theory video about this. But this is one of those cases. You took Fields of Strife, which is my other candidate pick. I think Fields of Strife is a little bit... the reason I would go with Essence Scatter is like, I'm hesitant to take one more pick in the direction of what I've been doing already. To me, it almost begins to be psychologically like I'm maybe risking being in like a little bit of a groove, a headspace where I like started in Lorehold and now I'm kind of continuing in Lorehold. I think it's very, very reasonable to do it here. But if we see one more pack like this, I'm going to start getting very antsy and really wanting to hop out of Lorehold. Okay, but there you go. All right. So, well, interesting one. So Lorehold, we have a great option for Tome Blast. That's pretty reassuring, I would say. Seeing a Tome Blast here, it definitely makes me feel like Lorehold is definitely on the table. Barog Banemaker is not the worst card I ever saw either. However, I do think the best card in the pack might be Divergent Equation, in that Tone Blast is like a nice enabler, it's good removal, it's sort of card advantage, but Divergent Equation is a win condition. This is a card that will just straight up win you the game. So between the Essence Scatter and this Divergent Equation, I would have been hopping already. I don't know if that's going to pay off, but I would have been hopping. I would now have 2 blue cards to go along with my Sundering Archaic, and I would be running those 2 decks against each other. The one that has the Elite Interceptors, and the one that has Sundering Archaic, Essence Scatter, and Divergent Equation. But no, you're just getting rewarded for sticking with Lorehold, because here I would be pulled right back into Lorehold. I would take this Pursue the Past and I would be happy with it, and that's what you did. And then we get some stuff, whatever. Expressive Fire Dancer, I'm guessing, is your pick, and it was Inkling Mascot and Imperious Inkmage on the wheel. Yeah, that's kind of the thing about going towards Lorehold here as well, isn't it? Because we saw this Render Speechless. Aziza is not really a signal about Lorehold, because it's just not a good card. Render Speechless is a good card. Elite Interceptor is a signal of either Silverquill or Lorehold being pretty open. I guess Unsubtle Mockery is a Lorehold signal. Okay, then we have some red cards and we have a Lorehold signal, like a Lorehold land. And then we have Pursue the Past. Yeah, okay, so either Silverquill or Lorehold looks pretty open. Yeah, I forgot about pick 8, Pursue the Past. Everyone else looked at this Pursue the Past and did not pursue it. Okay, all right, so kind of messy. I'm starting to think, like, we see this a lot. I'm starting to think that, like, 1 Inkling Mascot at the end of a pack means basically nothing, because we keep seeing this over and over again. But 2 of them together surely means something, right? I do think also, and this is partly about wanting to have generalizable lessons for the next set. In the play booster era, having 1 stray good common of a given archetype should not, like, pull you in that direction too strongly. Even if we saw, I don't know, like, let's say, what's that duress effect called that I always forget the name of? Render Speechless. Suppose we saw a Render Speechless pick 10, and you're like, oh, no one could possibly be in Silverquill because there's a Render Speechless pick 10. In play boosters, they could have opened a foil Antiquities on the Loose, a normal Antiquities on the Loose, a Inkling Mascot, and a Render Speechless. And then you end up with the Render Speechless pick 8 or whatever. And you don't know the history of that pack. But still, 2 of these commons together does begin to paint a picture of Silverquill being open. Having said that, you don't want to overreact to that information, because even if you took the Inkling Mascot here and said, okay, I'm willing to throw away all 4 of these Lorehold cards and basically start from scratch, then someone's going to get a pack 1 pick 11 Imperious Inkmage. And if the person next to you doesn't have Silverquill as an option, someone will get a pick 12 Imperious Inkmage. And then they're going to start thinking that Silverquill is open, they'll jump into it, and then your next pack will be miserable. So kind of a tough spot. I will say, though, you could take Paradox Gardens and try to set up for this Sundering Archaic. That's an option. Like, Paradox Gardens is also a signal. If I am in Quandrix-based Converge, then Paradox Gardens is like a huge priority for me, right? So that is a signal as well. This was the pack with all the horrible uncommons. I don't know, I guess I'd take Strife Scholar, sure. And then, what was I just talking about? Pick 12, Render Speechless. It's almost painful how open Silverquill has been recently. I mean, look, now your Silverquill card quality between Imperious Inkmage, Cost of Brilliance, and Render Speechless is like almost as good, maybe even better than your sum total Lorehold card quality. I don't care about Strife Scholar, Expressive Fire Dancer. I don't think Spirit Mascot's that good. So it's really Tome Blast plus Pursue the Past versus Inkmage, Render Speechless, and Cost of Brilliance. In just the last 2 picks, suddenly Silverquill maybe became your best deck out of the cards that you have so far. And then here you get a Rapier Wit. That is wild. People are not drafting Silverquill enough. And I'm not talking about the people that I'm like, the people who submitted drafts today. I mean, people in general at the tables that you all are at are passing too much Silverquill, in my view. Rendered Speechless, Form of Amity. I wouldn't hate just taking Form of Amity and making our mana good, but Rendered Speechless. There's also Erode, which is like perfectly fine. I wanted it to be better than it actually was. It's definitely better than Wander Off, though. Stargaze has also been like average. Okay, but I'm probably just taking Render Speechless, although apparently we can just wheel that and get it pick 12, but let's not rely on that. I don't hate taking Erode, but I do think Render Speechless turns out to be a better card. But I think maybe you're still leaning Lorehold. I just think Lorehold is like, it didn't really pan out. Yeah, we did get that late Pursue the Past, I guess. Pick 8. So I guess that's something. It's not like obviously, I don't know, pick 12 Render Speechless just seems so egregious to me. But it's not like obvious that Lorehold is not working out. Oh, now we're getting a stock up. Impractical Joke. Awesome. That's a good reward if we're thinking Lorehold. I'm guessing that's what you're on. Yeah. Always hurts me to pass a stock up, but I guess Impractical Joke is not that much worse than stock up. Return to the Ranks. Oh, I love this with the double Elite Interceptor. Yeah, I don't think that's what we're on. Probably just take the Rubble Rouser here. And now we're off to the races of making a standard Lorehold deck, but bam, here's Stirring Honormancer and nothing for Lorehold. Whoopsies. All right, got to put some more time on the clock. Let's go for, I'll give myself 7 minutes. I'll try to be serious about this. Okay. Yeah, I would be all over Stirring Honormancer, and I would have pivoted fully in my mind to Silverquill at pack 2. I would have taken the Render Speechless. I would have been a bit sad to pass this Impractical Joke, but I would have speculated on the Impractical Joke just in case I end up pulled back into Lorehold, but I would probably have taken Melancholic Poet here. And then here, I guess Masterful Flourish or Shattered Acolyte, although with the Rubble Rouser, that would have been tempting to me as well. Or maybe I would have lost my mind and taken Return to the Ranks and tried to do a build around of that again. That was really fun when I did that. Anyways, but Stirring Honormancer is like a clear signal, right? It's pretty clear that Lorehold is like kind of cut from the left, I think. So I would be on Stone Docent. Oh yeah, what did you do in that last pick? You took the Honormancer. Okay, so now you are thinking Silverquill. But then Tackle Artist over Stone Docent? Really? I mean, Stone Docent would go in a Silverquill deck or a Lorehold deck, and I think it's a much better card than Tackle Artist, just in a vacuum. So I would be all over Stone Docent, and it's synergistic if you're in Lorehold. So for like 3 reasons. Better in a vacuum, better with the signals, and more synergistic. I would definitely be on that. There's no real mystery here. Johnny's response, although I will say Rubble Rouser is definitely competitive with it if you think you'll be in Lorehold. So it does look like you are now dabbling in the Silverquill ways by taking Johnny's response over Rubble Rouser. You're keeping yourself open. And then here comes a Tome Blast, but there's also a Killian's Confidence in this pack. Could also take Fields of Strife and set up a Red Splash if you were inclined to from a Silverquill deck. I'd probably just be on Killian's Confidence. Now you're taking Tome Blast, so you're kind of like trying to walk a very delicate boundary here, taking a Stone Docent over a Tackle Artist, then taking a Tackle Artist over a Stone Docent, which is interesting. Then taking in a Johnny's response over a Rubble Rouser, which if you're in Lorehold, you probably would rather have the Rubble Rouser. Then taking a Tome Blast over a Killian's Confidence. I get the impression that you haven't quite made up your mind about which way to go. Here, I would definitely take Render Speechless over Send in the Past. The only way that you'll play this is in a Silverquill deck, and I think this card's very, very strong in Silverquill. Rapier Wit. Oh, you're taking Rancorous Archaic? Well, I guess Rapier Wit's probably not going to make your deck, but why not Masterful Flourish? That is interesting to me, because that would be really good if you're in Silverquill. Now it feels like you have made up your mind and leaned Lorehold. So now I'm thinking that you are going to pursue this pack as if you are trying to draft Lorehold specifically. This is a tough one because End of the Hunt would be great in a Silverquill deck. And you take Fields of Strife. Yeah, okay, so I'm in your... I'm mind melding with you. I see what you're thinking, Dion. But yeah, I think some decisiveness... I think you're being decisive now. I think it's coming a little bit too late. I think some decisiveness, honestly, right around here is where I would have started making up my mind about. Here, I would be like, this is a fluke. It's too bad I'm not Silverquill. I would probably take Inkling Mascot over Imperious Mage, but that's just me. And then here, I would be like, oh, wow. Silverquill is actually open. It is actually open. So even though I got that pick 8 Pursue the Past, that's more likely to be a fluke than a pick 12 Render Speechless, in my view. So here I would already have been thinking Silverquill. And then this whole pack, even with this Impractical Joke, even with this Rubble Rouser, I think I would have held the course and kept pushing Silverquill. And then I would have got rewarded with Stirring Honormancer. Take a Stone Docent. I would have taken the Stone Docent, which is another 2-drop for my Silverquill deck. A Johnny's Response, Killian's Confidence, Render Speechless, and then I'm feeling pretty good about my Silverquill deck. I would have taken this Masterful Flourish, but it doesn't matter, you got one anyways. And then here I would take end of the hunt. I'd be feeling pretty good about that Silver Quill deck, honestly. I would have a bunch of copies of really good cards. Okay, you get past a hardened academic. So that's kind of nice for you as a lore hold gamer. But the thing is, how much worse is Scolding Administrator? The win rate data says hardened academic has a 60.56%. Scolding Administrator has a 60.5%. So Scolding Administrator is not even worse by the average win rate number. So I would happily take that. Now you are getting past Impractical Joke and Pursue the Past. So maybe your read of the table is better than mine here, because I would be stuck with Owlin Historian. You get a premium removal spell. But then I get a Scolding Administrator, which is fantastic for my Silver Quill deck, and you take it because there's nothing for Lore Hold, but you cannot run it. We were right about Soup being open from the right, by the way. We're getting past Planar Engineering and Embrace the Paradox, and Run Behind for that matter, and Archaic's Agony. Okay, and then I would get a Killian's Confidence, and Shattered Acolyte's also fine, I guess. Not that much worse. Quillblade Laureate is fantastic. Also Shattered Sanctum. I might just take that for my Silver Quill deck at this point. But also Quillblade Laureate's really strong, so that's no problem. Elite Interceptor, pack 3, pick 7. Holy smokes. But Silver Quill is as open as can be. Render Speechless and Piercing Mage and a Form of Amity. I'm taking the Elite Interceptor. You're taking Garrison Excavator, I guess, because now you have all of these like leave the graveyard enablers and essentially no payoffs. This to me is you kind of backed yourself into a corner, to be quite honest. Like, I think if you get past pack 3, pick 7 Elite Interceptor, you want to be in a position where you can take advantage of that. You were in that you were playing white, but this like trying to line up into lore holds kind of frame of mind has you like trying to get some version of the lore hold synergies online. Whereas at this point, I would want to just be taking Elite Interceptor and building a streamlined aggressive deck. Getting Quillblade Laureate pack 3, pick 8, fantastically open here in white aggro land where we love to live. Honorbound Page is fine, whatever. We could have had like 5 Render Speechlesses. That's so funny. And then there's a Pull from the Grave. I'll just reveal your picks. You're taking Bulk Up. Sure, none of this is making our deck. Getting Muses. Okay, so and then the deck that you built was a Lore Hold. So all of these Silver Quill picks ended up being wasted. Yeah, so that's what I would zoom in on. And the deck ends up being like, it's just so many of these good cards that we were gifted with end up in the sideboard. Okay, I'll pause this timer for just the closing remarks. So much of this ends up in the sideboard that we are kind of stuck off of accruing the value from our draft. So looking back at the draft, where is the flex moment and what generalizable information can we take from this? I would say decisiveness. There's something here about there was a lot of vacillating. So you got a strong signal at the end of pack 1, pick 1. What I would recommend for you is to practice when you see that strong signal, pounce. And so that means after I've seen Imperious Ink Mage into Render Speechless really late in the pack, maybe just decide in your mind, okay, I'm probably Silver Quill unless proven otherwise. Unless I get another really strong signal in a different direction, it seems like the table wants me to be Silver Quill. So then I would take one of the unambiguously Silver Quill picks. Here, what I read into your decision making over these few picks is that you're kind of bouncing back and forth. Like you took an Honormancer here. I guess there wasn't anything that you could take in Lore Hold, so that doesn't really tell us anything. But the fact that you took Stone Docent over Tackle Artist, and then the next pick made the exact opposite decision, Tackle Artist over Stone Docent, it tells me there's some flux in your decision making. And then if you had decided to be Lore Hold by now, which I think ended up being the wrong decision, but you didn't necessarily know that yet, then you should probably take the Rebel Rouser over a Johnny's Response. And then here, you're taking some Lore Hold picks into some Silver Quill picks, although I don't think you ever leaned Silver Quill over Lore Hold. So I think it's about attentiveness to the signal at the end of pack 1, and then being decisive about that signal soon after that. That's my advice to you. So I would say practice looking for the strongest signal, the strong signal that something else is actually better than what you're doing, and acting on it immediately. And what I try to do is minimize the amount of time in a draft that I'm thinking I'm A or B, I'm Lore Hold or Silver Quill. Usually what I'm thinking is I'm Silver Quill now. you can prove to me that I should be Lorehold. I'm listening. I'm looking for the signals. You can tell me if I should be something else. But in my mind, I'm Silverquill. I try to leave the time when I'm thinking I'm running two decks against each other to like the first half of pack one. If I'm straddling the boundary of two packs of two different decks, then for too long, then I start getting antsy and I start getting worried that I'm going to end up leaving like all these scolding administrators and stuff, render speechlesses in the sideboard, that I'm taking just too many great cards that are not going to make my deck. All right, but really cool draft, Dion. Really, really interesting one. Thanks so much for submitting. And I also think your card evaluation was spot on. I think you did that really, really well. You found like the best card in tons and tons of packs, and you were getting rewarded for a while, like getting, I don't know, double Impractical Joke, these late Elite Interceptors, late Rebel Rousers, late Quillblade Laureates. You were in the right region of where you should be, and you were thinking correctly about it. Oh, one minor thing, the set's basically over, so this is like not that generalizable, but just maybe there's something in the future that this will make you think twice about. I would not play Sundering Archaic in a 2-color deck. I think this is like way too little value. Sundering Archaic is mostly good when you can activate it for like 4 or 5 mana. Okay, that was just a minor thing that jumped out at me at the end. Okay, but thanks, Dion. Cool draft. All right, last but definitely not least, and I do want to say, by the way, if you submitted and I didn't get to yours, I have this nagging. I switched methods for tracking drafts that people had submitted to me partway through since the last video like this. And so if you did not, if you submitted a draft, but I did not review it, then please let me know. Like, comment here, tell me in the Discord, because I think this is everyone, but I have this nagging feeling that I accidentally left someone out. Okay, Shwa, apologies to you, but I have to try to really stick with the timer this time. So we're gonna try to do this in 15. Whoops, I'm gonna go fast. Okay, so number 1, Moment of Reckoning. Yeah, absolutely. Pack 1, pick 1, Moment of Reckoning. You did it. That's good. I mean, one of the best cards in the set. I think literally the best card in the set. Okay. Number 2, probably just taking Molten Note here. I guess I also like Studio's First Year and Shared Roots, but probably just taking Molten Note. Oh, I also love Prismari Charm. I don't know. I just think Molten Note's the best card in the pack, and it's pack 1, pick 2. You should just take the best card in the pack. So that's what I'm on. Yeah, I don't think Ral is very good. It technically goes with your Moment of Reckoning, but I just think you shouldn't fight that hard to get to be black. It's just like begging to, you know, if the person to your right is a Silverquill drafter and you're just fighting really, really, really hard to get to play your Moment of Reckoning, then you're just toast, right? You're just not going to see any good cards and your deck's going to be terrible. You'll win some of the games where you draw Moment of Reckoning and lose the other ones. So I view this as, I don't blame people too much for wanting to play with mythics. You know, taking a mythic, if this is like, if you don't, and I don't know about you, Shwa, but like in general, if you don't draft that much and you see a mythic, it makes a lot of sense that you want to play with it, or especially early in the format. I do this a lot. Just take the mythic to see what it's like. But I think by now we can see it's not that good. So this, if you're taking it, it should mostly be a, oh, I'm curious about how it is to play with this guy I haven't gotten to, and it's rare that you see it. But with the awareness that you're giving up equity, like it's a much worse card than Molten Note. It just doesn't do that much. If it like destroyed a creature on entry or something, yeah, we'd be talking, but it just doesn't do that much. Okay, so I would not be taking Ral Zarek. I would be on Molten Note here, but all right. I don't hate Shattered Sanctum, because if you play your Moment of Reckoning, then it lets you, if you're in a deck that can run Moment of Reckoning, this makes it easier to cast. So I don't hate that. I will say though, Paradox Surveyor, probably the best card in the pack. I'm also a big Embrace the Paradox fan, but it's a bit early for that one. Yeah, I'd say it's between Shattered Sanctum and Paradox Surveyor. With a lot of money on the line, I would have taken Molten Note here, and then I would probably take Paradox Surveyor, and I would just be feeling my way around. I think taking Shattered Sanctum, again, I think it makes sense. Like, I can see that this does make your Moment of Reckoning easier to play in a Silverquill deck, and maybe even easier to splash, potentially, if you're like Witherbloom, splashing some white with some green fixing, could be. But these 3 picks in a row do make me a little bit concerned that you saw the Moment of Reckoning, your eyes got huge, you said, oh yeah, that's the best card in the set, let's play it. And then you're already giving up equity by taking Ral Zarek and then Shattered Sanctum. If we add it up, I'm just going to do this like really by the numbers, because I think this is interesting. So we take Moment of Reckoning. I would have taken Moment of Reckoning has a 63.3% win rate. So so that's what we're starting out with. It gives you about an 8 percentage point higher win rate after you draw it than the average win rate. Okay. Part of that is just like wrapped up in the fact that it's in Silver Quill. So we could say maybe it's like a 6 percentage point higher chance of winning after drawing this card than just knowing that you're playing a Silver Quill deck. Okay. Molten Note gives you a already 5 percentage point higher chance of winning, or 4.5, than Ral Zarek. So already the difference between the best card and the card that you took to support your Moment of Reckoning is similar to the difference between Moment of Reckoning and just the average card. So you can see how quickly you start to give up the equity that you get by taking and supporting that bomb. And then again, if you do this one more time, Paradox Surveyor has a 58.5% game in hand win rate. A little bit unfair to do this with a land, but you know, it's like another percent that was given up by this gap. This is a very back of the napkin way of doing this. I could formalize this in like a theory video, but this I think is a useful kind of line of reasoning. Okay, now here, so basically, but it shows you how quickly the cost adds up to like getting married to an amazing pack one, pick one, which I'm not accusing you of doing necessarily, but I'm starting to worry that that's potentially where this is headed. Okay. Pack one, pick four. I completely agree with Stirring Honormancer. Great pick. Awesome card. Love it. Pack one, pick five, though, we have a huge signal in a direction that is not the same as our Moment of Reckoning. Practiced Scrollsmith does not belong pack one, pick five. I won't go into all the reasons that this card is so good because this is like the last day of the format. But wow, this is a late Practiced Scrollsmith. I would be all over that Scrollsmith. And you were, so that's great. But it also shows you how quickly you can get cut away from the color pair that you wanted to be in these first few picks. Okay, what are we looking at here? I mean, I guess Forum of Amity could help us find a way to play this Moment of Reckoning, even if we're lore hold. Maybe. It's also a dig site inventory. I would probably just take the dual land here. Yeah, I don't hate that. Masterful Flourish is probably what I'm taking here. Yeah, makes sense. I mean, it's between that and Heated Argument, probably. I think that makes sense. What have we got here? I mean, there's a Render Speechless. Okay, hey, maybe Silver Quill is open after all, or maybe people just way underrate Render Speechless. That's probably true. Okay, but Stone Docent versus Render Speechless. There is an argument for Stone Docent because it would also go in the Practice Scrollsmith deck. But if I'm getting pick 8 Render Speechless, I'm feeling pretty comfortable about Silver Quill, so I would just go for that. This is a little worrisome, a little bit scary. I guess I'm on page. I don't think I'm really thinking about hopping over to blue. As much as I love Quick Study, I think I just take the page. I don't know. This starts making me a little scared. Then I guess I'm taking Honorbound Page or Goblin Glass, right? I don't know. How seriously should we take this? We just got a Render Speechless and then suddenly Silver Quill is drying up. That's too bad. So you took Honorbound Page to keep the Silver Quill dream alive. And then, yeah, we get all Prismari or Quandrix material. Yeah, that's too bad. But then we open an Emeritus of Woe, so that's pretty awesome. Not complaining about that. Yeah, I like that card a lot, obviously. And it helps us get cemented into Silver Quill, I guess. And then we get past an Arc of Hunger. Brutality itself. I mean, I'm taking Arc of Hunger, and I'm going to try to find a way to splash it, honestly. Yeah, I think this is one example of being a little bit too married to pack one, pick one, because look at this, like Arc of Hunger is even more winning, I think. It's not showing me the game in hand win rate, but it was like around 63%. I think on average, Arc of Hunger is even more winning than Moment of Reckoning. Even if in a vacuum, I personally fudge Moment of Reckoning up a little bit. I think Arc of Hunger is like basically neck and neck with Moment of Reckoning. So yeah, to take Killian's confidence over an Arc of Hunger is painful. I can see the idea that there's some discipline here, but it's not like we're getting incredible signals that Silver Quill is open. And so the discipline thing to do is to follow the signals and stick with it. It's more just like being in the groove of taking Silver Quill. If anything, we're getting really strong signals about Lorehold. Yes, there was a late Render Speechless, But we got that practice Scrollsmith late, and now we got another practice Scrollsmith alongside an Arc of Hunger. This is coming from the left, but still, for what's going to happen in the rest of pack 2, we might get hooked up with some awesome Lorehold. So I would definitely be taking Arc of Hunger here. Okay, whoops, I revealed your pick. I mean, it makes sense that you take a Melancholic Poet. There isn't like a great Lorehold option. I don't hate Monstrous Rage or the Zealous Lorecaster, though. I think I would still be thinking I'm primarily Silverquill, hoping to splash Arc of Hunger. So taking Melancholic Poet is probably also what I would do. Elite Interceptor, hello there. Fields of Strife would be nice if we're trying to splash an Arc of Hunger, but yeah, I'd be all over this Elite Interceptor. Oh, I think Elite Interceptor is way better than Erode. Seriously. Yeah, Elite Interceptor is one of these commons that I think you basically should not pass. For your average rare, definitely not. For a strong rare, you know, maybe take it over the Elite Interceptor, but there are not that many cards you should be taking over Elite Interceptor. Melancholic Poet, hop to it, render speechless. These are all fine. I'm probably on the Poet just as a 2-drop. Can't get enough 2-drops in my white aggressive decks. Now we're kind of looking a little cut again. I mean, it's a lot of green, a lot of black, a lot of blue, a lot of red. Well, some black green, not a lot of just plain black. I guess Honorbound Page, but that's looking a little sad. Then I guess I'm taking, if it's me, I would be taking the Terramorphic Expanse to splash my Arc of Hunger. And I would be in some kind of Mardu, playing my practice Scrollsmith and the Arc of Hunger. And instead of this Ral Zarek, I would have had something I probably can't play. Yeah. Oh no, I would have had Molten Note. So that would be a whole other reason for me to be in Mardu. I would be in a messy spot. I'm not saying my draft would be like obviously going way better, but this is looking rough. Now you have to take Studious First Year into Summon Dromedary. I would take the Form of Amity because I would be in a splashier place than you. And actually, it would be getting a lot of fixing, so I wouldn't be feeling too rough about that. I can see why you don't do it, though, when you already have 2 white-black lands. And then we keep getting cut. I mean, there's a quick study. Yeah, Diary of Dreams, I guess, is the best option that you have here. But in the Mardu space, I still wouldn't have that much. So I guess I'm not feeling too good about the Mardu move. And then we get a practice offense. What a funny draft this was for you. So, I mean, yeah, I'll take the practice offense here. I'm guessing that's what you did. Another kind of an empty pack. Maybe you're taking Barog Banemaker out of this, I guess. Yeah, that's rough. Conciliator's Duelist shows up. I mean, that's kind of awesome, right? This card's quite good. You've also got Eternal Student, Eager Glyph Mage. Like, there are things that might wheel from here as well. Inkling Mascot. Actually, I'm probably on Cost of Brilliance. I'm not sure what your creature count is at this point, but no, Inkling Mascot makes sense. Like, just got some more creature density in there. Now we're getting past Pursue the Past. So Lorehold was pretty open. And then a Molten Note pack 3 pick 6, which you end up taking, but you can't play. Why not take Hop to it, though? Because you're not thinking of splashing red, are you? I think Hop to it would be a good one. Hop to it goes so nicely with practiced offense, right? And then we're getting Practice Scrollsmith and Molten Note and Pursue the Past, pack 3, pick 7. Nobody at this table is in Lorehold. I don't know how far I would have been pulled towards Lorehold here, but I would be drafting a much more controlling Arc of Hunger, double Molten Note, double Practice Scrollsmith, kind of Mardu, like a Mardu control almost, just bomb support, right? Mardu bombs is what my deck would be. I don't know how great that would be, but that's where I would be at. And you kind of end up, I think, with a bit of an underpowered Silverquill deck. So what's my advice here? My advice here is I do honestly think, and maybe you don't resonate with this, I can't read your mind. Maybe this is not what was going on. I think you saw Moment of Reckoning and you committed really hard to it. You immediately started taking only white and black cards, and the signals were actually trying to tell you something else. As early as pack 1, pick 5, we knew that Lorehold is open. That was the strongest signal that I see in this entire pack. Nothing else here really jumps out at me. I mean, I guess Stone Docent is primarily a Lorehold piece. It's a kind of a late quick study, but I think people online underdraft that in general. Same with Embrace the Paradox. So a little bit of signal about Quandrix, maybe. But the strong signal that I get coming out of pack 1, the middle of pack 1 specifically, is that Lorehold might be reasonably open. I don't see a reason to think it's as open as it ended up being. Then we get an Arc of Hunger passed to us alongside a Practice Scrollsmith. So that's someone who's emphatically not Lorehold. Then we're looking at Elite Interceptor plus Fields of Strife. plus primary research plus erode, but especially those two first cards, right? So that's a little bit more information that Lorehold's being underdrafted at the table. This is a Lorehold rare, even though it's not a good one. And then, bam. Well, we opened this pack, but we get past Garrison Excavator. We do get past Conciliator's Duelist, but there's an Eager Glyph Mage. There's another Lorehold card in the pack. Not much information in this pack. So it's really kind of like what's happening at the table at large, not like what's happening right next to us. But then here we do get pack 3, pick 5, Pursue the Past, pick 6, Molten Note, and also Hop to It. It's kind of a Lorehold card. And a Molten Note along with a Practice Goldsmith, pick 7 with the Pursue the Past also in the pack. How open could Lorehold end up being at the pod? And this is almost an insult. If you were in Lorehold, you would be like weeping at having to make this decision, I think. But weeping with happiness at being able to make a decision like that. And then even at the end of this pack, like Owlin Historian is mainly a Lorehold card. So we even get like a red card, a red creature almost last pick, although not a good one, but still. My point is there were signals very early on. If you're in 10A, we're really kind of picking up on it, that Lorehold is open. And the sum total of the cards that you would have got in by being Lorehold, especially by the end of pack 3, I think would outweigh the sum total of cards that you would get to play in Silver Quill. So I think in the end, you would have a better deck. So I think this is a beautiful illustration of how you immediately and very quickly start giving up equity if you try to support a really strong pack 1 pick 1 and start passing better cards in order to make your pack 1 pick 1 work. Which again, Shwa, I don't know if that's like what actually was happening in your internal mind, but just like taking one step back and looking at this as kind of a storyline, that's one way that someone could read this from the outside. Maybe you just wanted to have fun playing Ral Zarek, but if I'm right that this was about supporting Moment of Reckoning, even subconsciously, I think you start giving up equity too quickly. So I would say lean a little bit more on signals. That's my, I think your card evaluation is spot on, by the way. So kind of similar as the feedback to Dion. I think your card evaluation is spot on, but I think that maybe just some more attention to what is happening at the table and a little bit less weight applied to what you happen to open in your first pick of each pack, I think that might pay off. All right, then we got a really cool question from Anus in the Discord, who says, not sure if playing out all my creatures into an opponent whose sandbagging was correct. Not trying to be a hindsight Harry after losing to Wrath, but at a higher stakes event, probably should consider that OP is holding it or missing the second white source instead of assuming that they kept an unplayable hand. So let's look at the critical moment in this game here. And by the way, I think it's super cool. Thank you for submitting a gameplay question. I think it's super cool to look at gameplay in addition to just the draft portion, because obviously that's a big determinant of whether or not you win a game. Okay, so you play out a Resolute Reinforcements. They play out a Resolute Reinforcements, 1-for-1 trade. You play out a Cat Collector. They do nothing on 3. Okay. You play your Treetop Snare Spinner and do not attack. I assume you're playing around Ambush Wolf here, which makes a lot of sense. Then you Snare Spin up your Cat Collector, and then you play the Nessian Horn Beetle. Interestingly, choosing not to crack the food to make the 1/1, and also choosing not to play the Helpful Hunter. And then swing in with both, and then they Wrath on their turn, and they get you for a 3-for-1. And then you play this 3/3, then you play the 1/1, and you play out another card, and you do get your Leyline Axe, which is kind of cool, although you'd rather have that turn 1. Bam, 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 and taking 6. They managed to, oh, they set up a huge freaking trade here. That's amazing. Oh, it's not even a trade? Yeah, okay, they trade Ambush Wolf for the, hold on. Oh, I missed Fleeting Flight. I was like, doesn't this have flying and also double strike? But the blowout here is they play their Ambush Wolf and then they Fleeting Flight it to give it flying on blocks and make it not take combat damage so that double strike doesn't kill it. I mean, okay, first of all, this is a bad beat. Like, everything lined up horribly for you here. The fact that they had Resolute Reinforcements plus the Ambush Wolf that you correctly played around earlier and a Fleeting Flight. Every single one of these 3 cards in their hand is combat relevant in a way that gets around your double striker. Yeah, that is a bad beat. And you're at 17, so you have every reason to think that you're not in danger territory. This is the kind of a thing that happens all the time in Foundations too. It's just like, I often feel that Foundations is like so unforgiving because you just like you do not have that many tools to put together great synergies or build a deck that can just consistently outperform whatever commons they have in their hand. So, anyways, but let's look back at the critical moment. So, your question is like, did I play into Wrath too much? And I will say, as a baseline, I really take to heart this thing that I heard Luis Scott Vargas say on Unlimited Resources or something a few times, which is like, people are inclined to play around Wrath of God a little bit too much when they have no reason to think that their opponent has it other than just vibes or fear. Because when you get Wrathed, it sticks in your mind. It's such a negative experience. It like hurts you. It's a scar. Like you hold on to that and you don't want to do that. You want to avoid it. Psychologically, you try to get away from that situation. However, what you don't notice is all the games that you lose by giving up the equity of not playing out your threats because you're afraid of Wrath. You actually do not get direct negative feedback for that because you might not notice that the fact that you held a creature for an extra turn ultimately did cause you to lose. If you look back at my Win-a-Box video with the blue-red deck in Foundations, I had a moment like this. I played around the 3 damage to everything Wrath by holding my Guarded Air when I had all of the information that I needed to put together that the last card in their hand was a Chandra, and they hit their 7th land, played the Chandra, and then I spent a miserable 10 minutes or whatever attacking that Chandra down to exactly 1 HP over and over and over again until eventually it took over the game and won for them. And that was a game that I absolutely lost because I played around a Wrath effect. If I had played the Guarded Air on the turn when I was trying not to get Wrathed out, I would have had the board presence to kill the Chandra immediately or prevent them from playing it. So that was some direct feedback that showed me I literally just the most recent high stakes game I played, I dropped most recent high stakes tournament I played, I dropped a game to playing around Wrath when I shouldn't have. So I do think we need to like balance when you lose to Wrath versus when you don't lose to Wrath. And I know that you know this, Anus, but I think it's like a good general lesson or thing for people to think about. It's important to balance those two things against those two experiences against each other and keep them in check. Okay, having said that, what can we do here? If you're thinking about Wrath, there is a middle road, right? There are actually 2 middle roads. So you picked a middle road. The most dangerous thing to do here would be play out Vanguard Seraph and attack. You didn't do that. You might have been thinking about Refute also, I think. You might have been playing around that. You didn't do that. You did Treetop Snare Spinner, putting a counter on the Cat Collector. And then you played Nessian Hornbeetle. A more conservative, so there was a less conservative line that you did not choose, which was playing the Vanguard Seraph. There were also more conservative lines though. So I also don't want to be a hindsight Harry, but the most conservative line that would still push your board presence is Helpful Hunter and Crack the Food, getting a 1/1. So you're still building your board, but you're keeping back these 2 pieces of value in your hand. Do I think that you would be better on average if you did that? I mean, an even more conservative line would be put the counter and play Helpful Hunter, because Helpful Hunter immediately replaces itself. So would you be better off? Well, the thing that I would worry about in that line, if we go put a counter, play Helpful Hunter instead of playing the Hornbeetle, and you attack, it's just really weak to Ambush Wolf, right? You're not even asking them to have Wrath. You're just like asking them to have a single common in order to beat you. So I would be concerned about being too passive here. I don't think it's actually like that bad at all to play the Hornbeetle in this spot. And then you attack, which I think makes sense here. Although here's actually a question for you. Last turn, you did not attack with the Cat Collector. It did not have Summoning Sickness. You were playing around Ambush Wolf. What changed? That's a question for you. What changed that made you willing to attack with the Cat Collector? Because if getting Ambush Wolfed last turn was bad, it's just as bad this turn. You haven't even gotten your 1/1 out of the Cat Collector yet. So that's one little inconsistency where maybe there's some room for improvement. Why are you okay attacking this turn but not last turn? Then the other piece is, I actually don't think that it's bad to play the Nessian Hornbeetle. But if you're thinking at all about Wrath, probably safer to just put the counter and play the Helpful Hunter. I do think that's probably too passive. I think I like playing out the Hornbeetle there instead of Helpful Hunter. After this Wrath, how bad am I actually feeling realistically? They have 5 cards and I have 2, but I'm about to draw and Helpful Hunter is going to replace itself. So I kind of have 4 cards and they have 5. I don't even think you're in that bad a spot here at all either. Maybe it would be better to be mana efficient and play Mossborn Hydra plus Helpful Hunter on this turn. I'm not sure. Then they have their 1 beater that someone would always save after having Wrath. And you draw Leyline Axe. So I'm actually still feeling fine in this spot. Where you really got was they have a removal spell, 2 creatures with flash, and I think the best combat trick in the format, all in a row. That's where you really got. So I actually don't disagree with your play at all. Maybe though, we both are a little bit too inclined to like be loose here. So maybe playing the Helpful Hunter is safer than Nessie and Hornbeetle, and we can take that lesson away. I don't know. I kind of like playing the Nessie and Hornbeetle actually. But then the only correction that I have is, and maybe it's not a correction, maybe you know something I don't know, but why not attack with Cat Collector here and then do attack with Cat Collector here when nothing changed? That's the part where I think it might actually be an error. You probably could have pushed an extra 3 damage, but I don't think that it would make a difference. Honestly, what I would have done is probably even worse and more passive, which is I would have not pushed the extra 4 damage if I'm thinking I have to play around the Ambush Wolf. Anyways, really cool spot. Love doing some gameplay analysis. Okay, thank you so much, KahunaNui, Rossetto, Dion, Shwa, and Anus. Really fun 2K sub celebration. So really appreciate you submitting those games. Again, if you submitted a game and I missed it somehow, definitely let me know. I really didn't mean to leave you out if I did that. And if you draft to Marvel or want to fast forward to Reality Fracture or The Hobbit because you're sitting out some universes beyond, you have a token that you can cash in. If you're someone who submitted a game and I didn't get to it, I will definitely include you in the next video. All right, this was super fun. It takes a lot out of me, so that's why it takes a while for me to get to do these review videos. And so I wouldn't expect another one for a few weeks, but I always look forward to them a lot. It's super fun when I do get to do it. So until tomorrow, actually until Monday, very likely, have tons of fun playing Magic, and don't be afraid to splash.